I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into The Locker Room. Man, do we have a special one for you today. In just a few short minutes, the co-founder and chief gaming officer of the fan-controlled football league will be here. Yes, he will be here on the podcast. Very excited to have Mr. Patrick Dees joining me in just a moment. But as always, before we can even get to that point, before we can get started, before we can get this rolling, you know what you have to do. Make sure you're following The Locker Room on our social medias. The Locker Room Podcast 615 on Instagram, The Locker Room Host Jacob on Facebook, TLR with Jacob on Twitter, and finally, The Locker Room 22 on TikTok. And no, for those of you who do not follow me on there and are wondering, I do not shake my ass. I don't do the latest TikTok dance. I just post funny sports videos, all right? So just so we're clear on that. This episode is brought to you by FNX Fitness. Go to fnxfit.com for all of your gym needs. Clothing, workout gear, your supplements, your recovery supplements, everything you need to be the better version of you. Go to fnxfit.com and use your promo code TLRHOST, all capitals, TLRHOST, for 15% off your order. Out of the gate, we are bringing on our very special guest, Mr. Patrick Dees, and we will have some fan applause here in just a second. Listen, guys, I'm telling you, February 13th is going to change the course of sports, bringing basically sports into the 21st century by putting technology, putting a football, putting it together. We've got Johnny Football. We've got Marshawn Lynch as an owner. We've got Quavo. I mean, like, what more could you ask for? This, if Madden has taught us nothing, it has taught us how to be a good play caller and how to whoop some ass. And you have the very chance to do that on the Fan Control Football League starting February 13th. And now let's go to our very special guest. We have a fantastic guest today, Mr. Patrick Dees. He is the co-founder and the gaming officer for the Fan-Controlled Football League. I'm telling you guys, I've already talked about this on the show. You know how excited I am. Patrick, welcome in. Glad to have you here, man.
And thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, I know you have a lot going on. As you guys can see in the background, he is there. He is in the stadium. He is doing testing. Look at that. I mean,
I'll pick this up a little bit so you can see it. Yeah, we're live here.
It looks
the Energy Arena here in just outside of Atlanta.
Yeah, it looks incredible. I mean, it already looks great, let alone wait till the action actually starts on February 13th. And we'll get to how you can be a part of it, because I know a lot of you have hit me up. Like, I've been involved in this. I haven't. I'm going to learn just as much as you have, or as you are on the show as well. But let's go ahead and get started. I want to know how you got involved. How did you get into this? I know that you're a co-founder. So is this your baby? Have you been thinking about this? I want to know.
Yeah, so I am co-founder. So from the beginning, and it started, there are four co-founders, but like where it started for me was I've always been a part of venture-backed startups, and we had a startup where we had built kind of the Kelly Blue Book of cell phones, right? So determined what phones' value was in secondary markets all over the world. And we built it to have an exit, and we knew that an exit was coming. And so, through my course of the time there, my partner and our CEO, Saurabh Farudi, we knew we made a great team and kind of had offsetting skill sets, but really similar. We were really good friends, trying to figure out what was the next thing we were going to do. And he kept saying, well, dude, I'm just going to buy the Cowboys, which is ridiculous because clearly, like, A, the exit wasn't going to be that big, and B, like, Jerry Jones is going to outlive all of us.
Exactly.
So I was in my mid-20s, but like I'm guaranteed Jerry Jones is going to live longer than me. So we try to figure out what is that next thing. And if it's not the Cowboys, what can we do? We're technology guys. We want to bring new technology to it. And for me, I'm the gamer of the bunch. I'm the chief gaming officer here. It's because I'm a gamer at core, right? I grew up and actually learned the rules of football through playing Madden. My dad, amazing father, but I didn't have that experience that a lot of people do where they like learn the sport by hanging out with their father, their mother. It was, I learned by playing Madden, and then we would watch the NFL on Sunday, and my dad would sit there, pretend to give a shit about what was happening on the screen. And I'd be like, oh, it's a 4-3 defense. And he'd be like, cool. He just wanted to spend time with his son. But for me, it was that real-time play calling has always been part of my football experience. And so obviously a huge sports fan, a huge video game guy. And like really this came from the desire to merge those two things, that like we have an opportunity to really rethink sports for the digital age. And that's where this started happening. I tell you, we went from there, and we had a team in the AFL for a little bit with Vince Neil, learned how broken the model was. And then we had a proof of concept team in the IFL, the indoor football league. Yeah. So we approached them. We picked up 2 other co-founders, Grant Cohen, who's had a bunch of like exits, and Ray Austin, who was drafted by the Jets, spent 6 years with Chicago, monster DB, just talented dude. He's an actor, model, talented dude. And we bought this team in the IFL, the Indoor Football League, and we pitched the commissioner there, who was like 35 at the time. I think he looked like he was 14. So he like understood technology, and he's like, yeah, this sounds like a great thing. We like you as an ownership group. You're crazy, but go ahead and try it. And so then we took a look at their geographic footprint of the league and said, hey, where can we fit? So we went to 5 or 6 different cities, and then we had a vote, and hundreds and thousands of people showed up and voted on where we should play. It ended up being between Salt Lake and Oklahoma City. We ended up playing in Salt Lake. So then we flew to Salt Lake, and then next up was the team name vote, and said, hey, like, again, fans are going to control everything. This is their team. So they get to brand it and do all that stuff outside of make personnel decisions and call plays. They need to own the team. So we, looked down the barrel of a camera, and this is right about that Bodie McBoat FaceTime. And I said, hey, look, if you name us Team McTeamface, that's what we're going to be called. And so immediately there was a bunch of team names. We were votes for Team McTeamface. We were almost named, and in Utah, it's super appropriate. We were almost named the Stormin' Mormons, but we ended up being called the Salt Lake Screaming Eagles. And then you fast forward a little bit, because it was a military base right outside of Salt Lake. But you fast forward a little bit, we let fans run this team. They chose our coaches. We live streamed our coaches. They hired our coaches. They chose our cheerleaders. They chose the logo, the mascot, the color scheme, the uniforms, all of it. And then we played a season. It was the first team that was, entirely powered by the fans. So, fans called plays. Our thesis was if we put fans in a position to be successful, they will be. Yeah. Because, football, this sport right now is the football IQ is higher than it's ever been. With the advent of mobile, or Madden, and fantasy, people know so much about the game. And so we thought, look, let's put this in the hands of fans and really redefine what it means to be a fan. And so it worked. So then we took a step back and said, there's a bigger opportunity, and saying, let's not go convert traditional football. This is a whole new model, and rethink football for the digital age. So literally, if you were inventing football today, what would it look like, right? It would be a lean forward experience. You'd be engaged. You'd have some participation. Games would be an hour long, right? Because people got ingest content that way. They don't have time 3.5 hours. There'd be no kicking. Like nobody goes, fuck yeah, like a kicker's here. Like nobody said that ever. So we removed kicking. And so when we thought through it, it was like, hey, there's a lot of ways that we can do it. And football is a global sport. So we didn't want to tie these teams to a geography. What we wanted to say, I was always been inspired by Mark Cuban and how the Mavs are just this extension of his personality. Yeah. And so we said, hey, look, we put up a murderer's row on a whiteboard of like dudes and ladies with huge personalities that could infuse their team with swag. And we got them, Marshawn Lynch, Richard Sherman, Quavo, Renee Montgomery, WNBA superstar, TMZ star, like people that have huge personalities that could really help give their team that ethos, if you will. Yeah. So anyway, that's how it started. And that, that's a journey to today.
Going on your team owners there, you've got some monster hits there, especially Marshawn Lynch. I mean, that guy, if you want to talk about personality and someone that's going to bring flavor, I mean, he's got all the flavors of the rainbow coming with him with his Skittles. Correct. So, I mean, you've got a home run team behind you as well. It's pretty incredible, pretty remarkable what you've done over this time.
Oh, thanks. And I think on both sides of the ball, we're really proud of the ownership group that we've got. Also, the team internally, we've got guys that have done it at every level, right? So guys that have done it like the IFL and the AFL, Andy Dolich is our COO. He was, president of the 49ers, president of the Memphis Grizzlies, like guys that have done it at every level. And so we're, incredibly excited about the team that we put together here. So.
Well, actually, that leads into our next subject here. Now, of course, the big name everybody wants to talk about is Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel,
Sure.
of course, being part of this. But going through and just watching not only on Instagram, you have an array of talented guys that have been all over the spectrum. So talk a little bit about how Johnny came into the play here and how he came to eventually sign with you guys, and then kind of who else you have around that we would know.
So to figure out Johnny, you take a step back and think about the type of dude we want in this league.
Yeah.
So again, if you're rethinking football, you have an opportunity to cast, especially this football, one that's interactive, and the guys' numbers that are called by the fans are going to want to build a relationship with fans. So what we did was we took, training camp after training camp, combines. We took, the top 500 guys that can play at a really high level, guys that played on Saturday. I mean, super high level football. And then we said, we actually took a casting agent and we met with all of them, and we looked at their social. We're looking for guys that light up when the camera turns on, that they want to create content, that they want to engage with the audience, that have huge personalities or great stories, people that can build that community with the audience. And so I think you'll see the guys in this, the world's not ready for a lot of these guys, incredible, huge personalities. And we've got so much content around it. We've got 6 studio shows around the league. So you get a really good look at what life is like in the FCF bubble. But so every one of these guys is this huge, incredible story, a big personality. And Johnny fit that mold really well. He's friends with one of our owners, Bobby Menery, who's a friend of ours. He's been, he called, actually one of the first kind of professional things he did was he called one of our Screaming Eagles games. Longtime friend of one of my co-founders. And so Bobby, obviously big sports personality, made sense for him to be an owner. And as he's friends with Johnny. And so, when we met with Johnny, it was like, look, can Johnny be uncensored, right? Can he just be himself?
Yeah.
And yes, it's what we want. And so it was a really easy conversation for him. He's not looking for a path back to the NFL, but what he is looking for is a chance to play some football, have that competitive spirit, guys that can actually really play, and then be himself. Right. And so I think that's where that kind of came from, was, via Bobby Menery and kind of how we've set up the league.
And somebody like Johnny Manziel, it's very important, like you said, for him to just be able to relax and play football. Sure. When did we see him at his best? In college, when he could be who Johnny Manziel was, just relaxed. He didn't have to have the pressure of having to carry a franchise or a city on his entire back and, have to be censored, be who they want him to be.
Yeah.
He's a special get here. But I like what you said that's super interesting to me is you said that, they have to be able to have a relationship with the fans, or the fans have to be able to have a relationship with them. You're right on the money there in this. That is so important for what you're doing, because listen, if I hate half the guys that are on a team, why am I going to tune in and want to work on this team or want to be a part of it? And that's interesting.
Well, so, I think we want to redefine what it means to be a fan too, right? Because that relationship is so critical, because you're determining their livelihood, right? You're drafting these people, you're cutting these people, you're calling their number. Wow. And it really hit home that we have a chance to do that when, in the Screaming Eagles, we had Devin Mahina, big wide out, caught this amazing touchdown pass. And after the game, he's out on the field. We have fans meeting with the players, and this kid came up to him and he said, Devin. And, Devin got down on one knee. He's like, dude, I called that play. And Devin was like, man, thank you for calling my number. And I realized that kid lost his mind, ran screaming to his parents, I called this number. And we have a chance to change what that dynamic is, because in this league, obviously players are going to make or break a team, but so will fans, right? Fans have to put these guys in a position to be successful, and they need a relationship. And so I think what's really interesting about what we prove here is in 3 years, I think teams will be recruiting players and teams will be recruiting other fans, right? Because if you've been a play caller and you've been crushing it and you've been making good decisions and your fan IQ and you level up, you're going to be incredibly valuable to a franchise in a way that a player would be. So we're really excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, that is the concept. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how awesome this is. We were just talking about it before the show started. It's literally like that ultimate mode in Madden, where you literally are, you can speak with your buddies, you get to vote on plays together. It's basically bringing that to real life. And it's incredible that that's happening now.
We're really excited about it. I can't wait for the world to see what we've built.
Yeah, it is coming February 13th. Of course, we will make sure at the end of that you get everything you need to know so you can get involved. Now, this coming up season, like we talked about, February 13th, what are you looking forward to most? What has been the most fun in building this process? And what are you ready to see opening day?
I think that's a really good question. What am I excited about most? Like there is a magic, like, you talk about game development and like all of these AAA game developers, they build these huge games and these systems and these, textures, and they like all come together and they have this, they have a saying that I find the fun, right?
Yeah.
You think about God of War for Sony Santa Monica, like all of these amazing systems, and they kind of found how that game felt and was fun in the last couple of months before it shipped. And I think we're actually the other way. Like we know there is a special magic when you call a play and the receiver is going to curl and he curls and it's connected. Like you can't not get excited about it. And so like, I can't wait for people to actually experience that. And especially when they've got that relationship with the player. So I'm excited about that. And I can't wait for fans to see the ways that you can interact with the league. So the camera is primarily a drone shot behind the quarterback. So it's going to feel like Madden, right? That league, that view you're familiar with. Yeah. But we also have we have 4 180-degree cameras. So on one on both end zone and one on each side. So right in Twitch, you can select those. So you can see crazy shots. And in the mobile app, you'll be able to move them side to side. So you'll be able to see pan around. And then like we've got a helmet cam as well. So the state of the art, incredible first person perspective, really wide angle so you don't get sick, but you feel those hits. When we saw the testing, like when guys just get crushed, you feel it. And it's going to be really cool. Whether you watch the game that way or not, like it's a great replay tool. Like I just want to see this guy just get lit up or dive and catch or whatever that ends up being. So excited about all of that.
The crazy part is you're the something I'm just thinking about now is when that play gets voted on, right? And this is something I'm curious about. So when the fans vote, that play is happening before they hype that football. So like that's even crazier is like, hey, I've got a guy doing a post, I've got a guy doing a comeback. Like what's happening before that play happens. I think that makes it even more exciting. It's like you have a little insight to what's going on.
Dude, totally. And when it happens, and it doesn't always happen the way, like it's not a video game. Plays are broken all the time, but like there's something really cool about seeing it develop. And then you can see that moment where the play breaks. And so, and the thing about it too, which I'm super excited about is like, I think everybody gets concerned about like, I don't want to call bad plays, and you can't in this league, right? Like, so it's algorithmically surfaced based on down and distance. No, they're always plays that we want to run. So you literally can't screw it up. Like, I think it starts making football a lot more accessible to people who it might be really daunting to just like turn on the NFL. If you're just a gamer and you're not necessarily a football fan, I think we're going to be able to be a real entry level, a real onboarding for those people that like might like Overwatch League, but not like traditional sports to really get involved in this.
The cool thing is too, is like when you bring fans into the mix, a lot of us, when we're sitting on our couch, I'm guilty of it too. I'm watching a game and I'm the first guy that's like, I can make that catch. I could do this. You're getting to see like, listen, it's not that easy. Things break up, things change on the fly. Like it's a lot more difficult than the average guy, the average gamer, whoever's sitting there watching it. Than we think about. And I think that's going to be really cool because that's going to be shown to the front a lot. Like the guys are going to get their respect that they deserve on how hard it really is to play at that level. Yeah,
absolutely. I think again, you'll experience the game like you've never been able to before. So super excited for people to check it out.
I cannot be more excited. I know you've given me plenty of your time. We really do appreciate it. Guys, there's only one thing left to do, and you know what it is here. We roll out the red carpet. You tell us how we can be involved, where we can follow you on social media. I will make sure everything's tagged below so nobody is lost when they're trying to find it. But let us know how to be a part of the Fan Control Football League.
I love it, man. Thank you. So go to FCF.io. So Fan Control Football, FCF.io. Go register, pick a team. You've got this really diverse set of teams. The fans created all these logos. We've already gone through the logo and color process. Like I'm wearing a Wild Aces t-shirt, which is owned by Greg Miller.
I'm in love with the uniform. So I'm gonna throw that
one out. All fan created. It's incredible. Yeah. So go to FCF.io. You can follow us on Twitter we're at FCFIO, and on Instagram we're FCFL. I'm at P to the Dees, Dees. So follow me. I'm a big Twitter guy. So questions, comments, concerns, all that stuff. Hit me up. Let me know what you think of the league.
Well, Patrick, we appreciate you stopping by the locker room, and we will hope to be able to talk to you very soon. So excited for February 13th, guys. Got to check it out. Go follow this guy on his social media, stay up to date, and be a part of Fan Control Football League.
Thanks for having me.
Wow, wow, wow. What a fantastic interview. Thank you once again to Mr. Patrick Dees and the Fan Control Football League for joining us today on their very tight schedule because they debut February 13th. Make sure to check that out. All of their information will be attached below, and it's all over my social medias. So like I said, follow me and you can get the insight to everything you need for the Fan Control Football League. Also, the video-only version of that interview is up now on YouTube as well. So if you're like, man, I don't want to listen to the rest of this podcast, this guy's annoying, great. You can go watch the video-only interview on YouTube right now, so go check that out. But we've got some Super Bowl to get into. For those of you who only watched the Super Bowl for the commercials and the halftime show, Tom Brady clinched his 7th Super Bowl victory. Tom Brady rose to the top of the mountain yet again at the ripe age of 43. So I have to start off the show by congratulating Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A statistically horrible franchise got all the way to the very tip top of the mountain and was sent home with Tom Brady and a championship trophy. So congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Congratulations to Tom Brady. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the game. Then I want to talk a little bit about Mahomes versus Brady, and then kind of go off into the sunset with Tom Brady's legacy. Where does this leave him? Does he get any higher on the mountain of greatest athletes of all time? We'll talk about that in just a second. First, let's talk about initial thoughts. Initial thoughts, I did not expect what I saw. I didn't expect Patrick Mahomes to have 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns, which that still blows my mind to this day. I didn't expect Tom Brady to only throw 8 incomplete passes. I didn't expect it to be a rout, a 31-9 victory for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everything I thought was going to happen didn't happen. I mean, except for the Bucs winning. I predicted they would win, but I predicted they would win in a shootout, a 38-34 type of football game. That was nowhere near the case as the Bucs completely dominated them on every aspect of the field. So my initial reaction would probably be shock. I did not expect that football game to go the way that it did. I did not expect it to be completely lopsided. I would never in a million years bet against Patrick Mahomes not throwing a touchdown in a Super Bowl or even in any game. Patrick Mahomes has thrown a touchdown since Pop Warner to middle school to high school. Like, this guy has never not thrown a touchdown. I can guarantee you that. If you go back through the baby book, like, I'm sure he has thrown a touchdown every single time he's ever stepped foot onto a field. He didn't throw a touchdown in a Super Bowl game against a Bucs defense who all year long people doubted. But doubt no more, because they are the reason Tom Brady is holding a 7th Super Bowl Lombardi trophy. They are the reason Tom Brady is getting ring fitted yet again. They are the reason that the Bucs are sitting up top of the NFL as the champions. Now, don't get me wrong, Tom Brady, extremely efficient. 21 of 29, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2 of those to Gronk. Love Gronkowski, all right? Greatest tight end to ever play the game. Listen, Tom Brady gets a lot of love, but Gronk should get just as much love for his performance in the Super Bowl. But that's neither here nor there. I will always be a Gronk fighter until the day that I die. Their offense was efficient. Leonard Fournette ran like a grown man. I think the funniest meme I saw so far is they said anybody with a bald-ass head should be running the ball like a grown-ass man. So I completely agree. Leonard Fournette ran like a grown-ass man, did his job. He brought balance to that offense, which made Kansas City's defense suck up too close to try and stop the run. Then, bam, Tom Brady goes across from you. He goes Gronk, he goes AB. I mean, you can't beat Tom Brady when he has all of those weapons doing what they did in the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. But that defense, if they did not play the way that they played, this would have become a shootout game, and it's more likely that Patrick Mahomes comes out on top of a shootout. Now, I know I picked the Bucs, and it was probably more me being biased to Tom Brady and to his legacy. But in a shootout, Tom Brady at 43 or Patrick Mahomes at the ripe age of, 25, 26? I'm probably going to go Patrick Mahomes because His weapons on offense are outstanding, probably the best offense in the league. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, if they had a running back, they would be nigh to unstoppable. I would say best wide receiving core / tight end combination in the league, with the best quarterback in the league. I will still say it until the day that I die. At this point, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. He's more talented. He's more athletic. That's just the way that it is. But while all of that's well and good, the Bucs defense made him look pedestrian. This is the first time that I have seen Patrick Mahomes look human. Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback in all of football right now. They made him look average. They made him look like Brock Osweiler when he went to Denver. They made him look like Fitzmagic after Fitzmagic had won 3 in a row. They made him look like any Bears quarterback that has ever lived. Now, I know my brother-in-law is a big Jay Cutler fan, but Steve, I'm sorry, Jay Cutler's just not that good. But Jay Cutler aside, what did this Bucs defense do so well that got Patrick Mahomes looking so pedestrian? They got after him. Listen to this. This is what's crazy here. The Bucs stayed in a cover 2 defense, which is 2 high safeties, and only rushed 4 players the entire game. Very few blitzes. And the Bucs are the 3rd highest blitzing team in all of football. But what that defense's game plan was, hey, we're going to sit back 7 deep. You're not going to get anything across. You're not going to get anything deep. And if our 4 guys can beat your front 5, we're going to win this football game. And that's exactly what happened. His offensive line was atrocious. There was injuries, and instead, I think this is where there is a lot of fault to be laid at Andy Reid's feet. Andy Reid, instead of just switching out the left tackle and having an inferior left tackle, a 3rd-string left tackle, and keeping the rest of the offensive line in place, he decided to mix it all up. And what that did for Kansas City's front line was cause confusion. There were several missed blocking assignments. The edge rushers were being able to just basically walk freely to the quarterback. Ndamukong Suh and Pierre-Paul just destroyed Patrick Mahomes in a Mahomes sandwich at one point during the game. Why? Because they were missing their blocking assignments. They were confused. They had no idea what they were doing. And I think a lot of that lies on Andy Reid's footstep, I should say. Andy Reid has a lot to blame for this Super Bowl loss. And we'll talk about the offenses in just a moment. Let's focus here on the defense, because the Bucs also did something that has never been done in NFL history. The Bucs made Patrick Mahomes scurry, scramble, or move out of the pocket. And this, I promise you I'm not making this up. They made him scurry, scramble, or move out of the pocket for a total of 497 yards. Patrick Mahomes ran around the entire game like a chicken with his head cut off because he had no protection up front. His wide receivers weren't getting open either, and then when they were open, Patrick Mahomes most of the time didn't have time to throw to them because he had 3 and 4 guys rushing directly to his face. And yet, Patrick Mahomes still made 2 of the greatest throws I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. You know that NCAA football glitch video that's shown all the time where the quarterback gets his legs thrown out from under him and the guy tosses it behind his head for like a 70-yard completion? Mahomes did that in real life, not in a video game, in real life. And he hit Travis Kelce directly in the face on a 3rd down. He hit McCole Hardman in the end zone and dropped it. He hit Pringle in the end zone and he dropped it. Patrick Mahomes, although he did not have a great day, still made throws that were catchable balls for touchdowns, and that is where his playmakers did not show up and become playmakers on the right day. So Mahomes' playmakers didn't show up. Mahomes didn't have a great day. Their offensive line was atrocious and let the Bucs run all the way through the entire night, getting pressure to Mahomes. They put Mahomes on his butt more than Mahomes has ever been hit, I'm pretty sure, in his life. A pretty nasty hit towards the end of the game with Ndamukong Suh. I mean, Mahomes was just beat up, bashed, and bruised the entire game. And he had absolutely no help from his head coach. And this is where I have a problem with him. Andy Reid didn't do a great job of changing up the game plan on offense. His game plan was, I want to empty my wide receiver set and have all 5 of you go out for routes every single time. I'm not going to run the football, and I'm going to try and throw you out of a cover 2. For those of you who don't know, it is impossible to throw out of a cover 2. Why? Because there's two deep safeties basically saying you're not going to get enough yardage to pick up first downs, so you're never going to be able to advance the football enough to throw out of a cover two. The only way to beat a cover two is by establishing the run, getting balance, and then when that safety has to come up and help with the run, you have your middle, you have your overtop, you have your out routes. That's how you create balance. That's what the Bucs did so well. They created balance on offense. So Andy Reid did not do his job. He did not create balance for his offense. He put Patrick Mahomes in situations where he was unable to succeed. When they were getting pressure constantly, that is where you have to run the football, get them out of the cover two, get them off balance on defense so you can open things up in the passing game. You just continually throwing a football with 5 defenders around is going to do jack all. So that's why I have a big problem with what he did. Andy Reid did not do a great job balancing that offense and giving Patrick Mahomes any pathway to success. But the Bucs front four did a fantastic job. Pierre-Paul, Ndamukong Suh turned back the tables of time and played out of his mind. Devin White is the best. He's arguably up there right now with Aaron Donald for me as one of the best defensive players in all of football. The best linebacker without a doubt. He is a monster. He is insanely fast, and he came on when he needed to come on. Big fan of Devin White. Just after the Super Bowl, I really didn't pay attention much to the Bucs besides watching here and there. I'm a big Devin White guy now. Shout out to him because he plays good-ass football. So the Bucs were able to do their job on defense, inevitably allowing Tom Brady to have a fairly easy day. They picked off Patrick Mahomes twice. Tom Brady only 8 incompletions on the day. He hit Gronk up for 2 of those touchdowns. AB had a redemption touchdown. So all in all, a pretty dominant performance, and it started with the Bucs. If you could give out 2 MVPs, the MVPs should have gone out to the Bucs defense and then to Tom Brady. Arguably Gronkowski in there as well because Gronkowski had a great game, especially in the blocking scheme. Oh, he's just such a great tight end. But all in all, a fantastic win for the Bucs. So there are my initial thoughts on the Super Bowl. Now to the question at hand that a lot of people have written about, a lot of people have DM'd me about. Did the referees change the course of that Super Bowl? Did the referees cost Kansas City a back-to-back Super Bowl? The answer I have for you is hell no. Now, there are 3 penalties that I really want to talk about. The rest of them, besides these 3 penalties, the rest of them were called absolutely correctly. I know a lot of people are super upset about the offsides call on the kick. Guys, offsides is offsides. Like, if you watch it, it was 100% offsides. Actually, not only McCole Hardman, but the other guy at the end, I don't know what his name was, both of them were offsides. So that call 100% was correct. So for those of you writing in the DMs, like, that offsides call was a bunch of BS, it wasn't. That's the rule. You're offsides, you're offsides. Now, was it ticky-tacky? Absolutely. I thought the refs were being a little anal about some stuff, but that was the right call. Now, call number 1 that I really want to talk about. It's about to be halftime. Mike Evans gets the PI call. It's a spot foul. It leads the Bucs all the way down to inevitably score a touchdown right before halftime. That call, while it was the right call because there was a hand contact to the foot that caused Mike Evans to fall, so technically that was pass interference, I don't think I would make that call. The ball was uncatchable, in my opinion. A lot of people say, well, if Mike Evans could run through that ball, he had a chance at it. But a chance at it's a lot different than a catchable football in my eyes, right? Just because I have a chance at something doesn't mean I'm going to get it. And I know a lot of people have the flip side argument, which is doesn't mean he's not going to get it, which I get that. I get that. I don't think we were going to see Mike Evans do a nasty diving one-handed catch. That's just my personal opinion. But that call right there, while it was pass interference, I would not make that call. It's right before halftime. It wasn't a course-changing call, but I think it was a course-ending call. Like, at that point, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drive down, they score another touchdown, and inevitably they never look back after that. If they don't get that call, you go in with a, 4-point game at halftime? That seems not only a lot more manageable for the Kansas City Chiefs, but seems like that game could have swayed either way. Because at that point, you have the Bucs saying, hey, well, we only kept Patrick Mahomes to, field goals, in the first half, so congratulations. And that keeps the Chiefs going, hey, we kicked a couple field goals, but we're only down a touchdown and we can score just like that. So while that call I don't believe should have been called, it was the right call if you want to go by technicality. Very ticky-tacky, and a lot of people are saying that's the call that changed the course of the game. I don't think that call is the thing that all of a sudden now Kansas City was going to come back and storm through a victory there. What I do believe, though, is that Kansas City, they were being poked at a lot more than the Bucs were being poked at. They got a lot more flags. They got a lot more ticky-tacky fouls than Tampa Bay got. I will 100% admit that. But listen here. If this game ended up being like a 3-point game and the Bucs only won because of that one touchdown that Mike Evans got the penalty from, then I would say, hey, that was a game-changing call right there. It's the difference in the football game. The problem is the Bucs won 31-9. So you can't be like, oh, that one call changed the course of the game. There was nothing stopping the Bucs from getting pressure to Patrick Mahomes. There was nothing stopping the Buccaneers from intercepting those footballs, getting the pressures that they did. That was going to happen regardless of what happened penalty-wise. So while I don't think that call should have been called, that was the right call. Now let's go on to call number 2. The pass interference in the end zone that inevitably led to a touchdown strike immediately following that. And then, of course, the Tyrann Mathieu, Tom Brady feud after that. This is the call that I would say I would not have made as a ref as well. That ball to me, now it was a complete holding or pass interference. Either one you want to call, it was both of those. So they had the right to make a call there, whether it was holding or pass interference. But the problem I had was the fact that ball sailed 15 feet over his head into the back wall. Tom Brady did not make that a catchable football. Therefore, I would have made it a simple holding call or let them play. Now, you hear all the time all of these Hall of Famers saying, hey, the refs are going to let you play in the Super Bowl. Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp said the same thing. He said that in his first Super Bowl, he was told, they're going to let you play. They're going to let you bumping coverage and hold a little bit. They're going to let you guys play some football. So that there was another ticky-tack foul that while it was a correct, there was a call to be made there, I don't believe they made the right call. To me, that ball was uncatchable. It seemed like it was sailing way over the head of Gronkowski. I don't like that call. While they had the right to make a call there, I'm not a big fan of that call. So I will give you guys that one as well. I'm not a big fan of that call right there. Now, right after that whole scenario where the Bucs ended up scoring the touchdown right after that, we see Tom Brady and Tyrann Mathieu getting into it. First time I've ever seen Tom Brady as heated as that. But they're going at it. And they gave Tyrann Mathieu a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct for getting in Brady's face. This is where I have a big problem with what the refs did here. Tom Brady was warranted for a flag as well. Tom Brady, so they have their little scuffle. Tyrann Mathieu puts his hand in Tom Brady's face, kind of pushing at him. Great, that should be a flag. My problem is Tom Brady then chased Tyrann Mathieu down just so he could give him another earful. To me, after that situation was broken up and flagged, and then Tom Brady then pursues that same player to get in his face, that should be a flag on Tom Brady. That's the one call that I will give you guys now. If you think about it, these calls are not course-changing calls in my opinion because there was nothing stopping the Bucs from doing what they were going to do. If you set this game up, like I said, 10 times out of 10, the Bucs are walking away with a victory in a Super Bowl scenario, right? Not on a Tuesday night, Thursday night, Saturday, whatever. Not on any other day of the week, but a Super Bowl scenario, the Bucs were the better team against if these two exact teams played. Now, if Kansas City was completely healthy on the offensive line, it could get interesting. But the way they were constructed, the Bucs were winning that 10 out of 10. But this is a call, this is what drives me insane. Give superstars the same respect that you give a non-superstar. I hate, and I understand they have to do it. I hate the fact that we have superstar treatment in the NBA and the NFL. The stars get the calls, the non-stars don't. I hate that. Call the game as even as you possibly can. Be objective to what is going on. Just because LeBron James, and you guys know LeBron's the GOAT in my eyes, just because LeBron James gets very ticky-tack fouled and he flops doesn't mean you have to give him that call every single time. Now, I will admit, they are notorious for not giving LeBron calls, but that was just the first example that came to my head. But this is one of those, Tom Brady should have been flagged as well. This is not just a Tyrann Mathieu issue. Tom Brady, without a doubt, should have been flagged as well. That should be a double flag without a doubt offsetting penalties, you go on. But like I said, these calls that were made, the 3 calls that I brought up to you, the 3 calls that a lot of you talked about, those are my opinions on those calls. I don't think it changes the outcome of that football game. While Chiefs fans and Patrick Mahomes fans are saying, well, the reason we lost the Super Bowl was because of those calls, I don't believe so. Now, I hate that we have to have a narrative after every game because we can't get any decent damn refs in the league, in the NBA, nothing. And many of you know, one of my biggest pet peeves with professional sports is they do not do a great job of taking care of their referees. Therefore, these referees are only working half a year. Half of them work other jobs. There's very few full-time employees. These referees should be full-time employees that have mandatory classes they have to go to. They have mandatory training every single year so they can be the best they possibly can at their job. If you're playing football at the highest level, you should be refereeing at the highest level, and I don't think we have that matched up perfectly yet. But I do believe, like I said, the NFL and NBA make enough money that they should retain full-time referees that work a full-time job, and that full-time job is refereeing NBA games and NFL games. Just a side note there, but I do believe if we had higher standards for our referees, we wouldn't get games like this. I don't believe this was a New Orleans call where it was the most blatant pass interference that has ever been known to man. This was unfortunate that these calls were made, but this was not a game-changing set of calls that we see here today. So last few things here before we wrap up. Final thoughts on Tom Brady and his legacy. Does this mean that Tom Brady's, the greatest to ever do it officially now? I think officially now that door is closed. Officially, Tom Brady will never be caught as the greatest of all time. He will never be rivaled with 7 championships. I mean, there's franchises that only have 6, and that's, the Patriots have the most with 6. He now has 7. There's nobody that is ever going to rival Tom Brady. I don't believe before this that his GOAT status was in question, but if there was any questions, it is now sealed with this Super Bowl win. And for Patrick Mahomes, what does this mean for Mahomes? Nothing. Mahomes is still the best quarterback and most talented quarterback in all of football. Mahomes is going to be in several Super Bowls for years to come. The Kansas City Chiefs have some offseason work to do. They've got to get healthier and they've got to get more offensive line help. They've got to get more defensive help. I've talked about that all year long about how I don't believe their defense could stop Tom Brady. Now, while I didn't talk about it today because I really wanted to focus on the Bucs defense, we overreact in sports. That's our job, to overreact. But don't think that Mahomes is now not a top 5 quarterback. I know I've heard several of you write me like, Mahomes showed he's not a top 5 guy. Like, get all that craziness out of the way. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in all of football. Tom Brady is the best quarterback to ever do it. And finally, my final thoughts on the NFL this year. First off, the NFL did a hell of a job of getting this season complete, getting this season through without many hiccups. Now, were there hiccups? Absolutely. But we saw the NFL do a great job without having to put their players in bubbles and turn this into a wacky thing that the NBA did. They did a great job of making sure these football games were played, making sure each team had as much freedom as they could to practice and watch film and do what they needed to do in order to be a good football team. As a whole, this is one of the best, even though I think it was because it was during a pandemic, for me at least. The NFL did a great job of seeming the most normal. Like I said, the bubble seemed very, not cliche, but it seemed like a little niche. But the NFL did a pretty good job, in my opinion, of seeming normal in times that just aren't normal. So this year was a great success for the NFL. If you don't have a NFL Sunday ticket for next year, order it already, because I got an NFL Sunday ticket this year, and they don't sponsor the show, but if they hear this, they should. NFL Sunday ticket was the greatest thing that I've ever purchased in my life. So this year was just a great year of the NFL, great year of football for me. Well, there you have it, everybody. That is our show for the day. I want to thank Patrick for coming on the show. Make sure you register for Fan Control Football as soon as possible. It debuts February 13th. Make sure you're following us on our social media so you can be a part of everything the Locker Room's doing. Once again, guys, I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room.